Welcome to the epicenter of sports and entertainment. This is the Rude Dog Show. Now, here's your host, Rudy Reyes.
Welcome to the Rude Dog Show. Good afternoon, everyone. Evening, wherever you might be as well, whether you're on the other side of the world or you are maybe next door. And if you're next door, I don't know why you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel on YouTube. Just go to the Rude Dog Show on YouTube and click subscribe. Please do that. Thank you. And you will be welcome if you aren't already. So thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Rudy Reyes, joined by my co-host, Barry Lawn II, never the first, never the third, and never last, to say the very least. Speaking of never least and the last, how's your night going, Barry?
It's going fantastic, man. I am so ready to get into this. We got a lot to talk about. Patrick Mahomes possibly being the GOAT in the GOAT conversation right now. We're going to jump into a lot of different things. I'm ready, man. Let's go.
Oh, sorry. I was clearing my throat.
I thought you were trying to be a goat. Is that the sound that a goat makes?
I don't know. I don't even know what a goat sounds like, but I know what a goat feels like. If a goat can throw, does he wear a helmet or does his horns get in the way? In either case, we're not going to bore you with all the formalities, but we're going to jump right into the look. Even if there is, and I mean even if there is no one else in the conversation, it can easily change if Mahomes continues his current trajectory going upwards at the young and before 30 range of 28 years old. Man. He's already had a Hall of Fame career, 6 straight AFC championship games, 4 Super Bowl appearances, and 2 championships. So out of the 5, he's been in 4 and has won, 2. Mahomes could be far from done. His ability to commit to the play and the play style that's needed in clutch situations, you've seen him do it time and time and time again. It almost gets boring to some, but if you understand the symmetry and understand the poetry in motion you're actually watching for Patrick Mahomes, it's what separates him from, the ultra GOAT, which is Tom Brady. And it isn't this is as close as you want it to be or believe it could or maybe would be. My question is this, Mr. Barry Lawn II, not the first, not the third. When we look at who Tom Brady is and what he means to football, will Mahomes end up being just as equally enamored by people playing in the NFL, upcoming quarterbacks? Will they try to emulate him knowing what type of trajectory he's on?
I think everybody's trying to emulate Patrick Mahomes. I think that he is the standard blueprint of who you want to be like and you want to model yourself after. Not only is he great on the field, he's great off the field with the things that he says, the way that he conducts himself. And that's the reason why he's a prime candidate for all these endorsement deals. So, yeah, I think he's the model guy, the model citizen that you want to be like and emulate. And the thing about it is that Patrick Mahomes, being 28 years old, he's already got 2 MVPs, right? He's already got 2 Super Bowl rings. If he wins a third, he'll be right on par with where Tom Brady was at the same age. Tom Brady, not so much given the opportunity to drive the keys or have the keys to the car as soon as he comes into the franchise. Tom Brady was a backup, and he was never supposed to be the guy. He was never supposed to be the main quarterback, the QB1. But Patrick Mahomes, they went up in the draft to go get him. Andy Reid knew what he was getting when he got Patrick Mahomes. So there was more pressure on Patrick Mahomes to live up to the standard that Tom Brady set than there has been to any other quarterback. So the thing about it is that this guy is so fantastic. I mean, the throws that he makes, the way that he makes other people around him better, the fact that he's able to interchange wide receivers year after year. It doesn't matter if it's Sammy Watkins or Juju Smith-Schuster or MBS or Tyreek Hill. It doesn't matter. As long as he has Kelsey, he's fine. And it's the way that he contorts his body in such a manner to get rid of the ball. And it just avoids the rush. Little things like that just makes it just so incredible to watch him play. So I think that Patrick Mahomes is definitely on par and on his way to being the GOAT. And if he can continue to win, especially a season like this where it looked bleak early on in the season, it looked like this team was not even going to make it to the AFC Championship, much less make it to the Super Bowl. If they're able to win a Super Bowl this year, then I think that he wins at least 2 or 3 more rings, and I think he's in the conversation. And it's just whether or not he can play as long as Tom Brady played. Longevity is what it's going to be. And the thing about Patrick Mahomes is him being a black quarterback, he still plays a style which lends itself to longevity because he doesn't run that much. He doesn't run as much as Lamar Jackson or as much as Michael Vick or even Randall Cunningham for that matter. So I think that this is a legit conversation to be had. And I think that based off the trajectory in the first 7 years of both guys, I'm ready to put Patrick Mahomes as the baby GOAT and on his way to becoming the ultimate GOAT.
Well, here's what you have to think about is that there are other quarterbacks that have done much more than Patrick Mahomes from a statistical standpoint. You look at guys like Joe Montana, look at Terry Bradshaw, you look at Roger Staubach. I mean, there are guys ahead of him, and it's about the hardware. I take nothing away from Patrick Mahomes and his ability to get out in the field and to make these impossible clutch type of throws, but that's who he is. I can't even imagine what he'd be like playing baseball, an absolute beast. And to be honest with you, once he retires from the NFL, there could still be a spot based on his athleticism, based on his desire, his wants, and physically being able to hold up to a very long baseball season. I could see him maybe playing for the Kansas City Royals, but well, hold on. Can he?
And remember, he played in college. He played in high school growing up. His dad was a Major League Baseball player, and so was Kyler Murray, and so was Jameis Winston. They were also baseball college stars. So I would love to see that. I would love to see it. Russell Wilson as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Russell Wilson, I was going to mention him in addition to that. But what's more important is that Patrick Mahomes is on the biggest stage at the biggest time during the right time in his career. And look, on the other side of the ball, you have Brock Purdy. Nobody expected Brock Purdy to be here. I'm sure Brock Purdy didn't expect Brock Purdy to be here where he's at right now. There was no way anybody could tell me that Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in last year's draft, is a guy who's now in a Super Bowl. The guy is cool as a cucumber. He hasn't won one yet, but that could very well be a very daunting task against a very rising and up and going defense, especially when you're talking about pass rush. Coverage is great too for Kansas City. And they just have a lot of the stars that are lining up for them. I'm not picking the Chiefs to win. I'm not picking the 49ers to win. Clearly there has to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. And I don't know who that's going to be, but I know this. When it's all said and done, if Patrick Mahomes, and I'm with you, if Patrick Mahomes ends up winning, it could be a baby GOAT conversation. The only reason why he's not the ultra GOAT that Tom Brady is because of a variety of things. And one of those are he would need 3 more rings in order to match Tom Brady. Now, when it's all said and done, you don't find yourself in Canton, Ohio because you're a slacker. Dan Marino's in because of his ability to throw. He has career passing yards, career completion percentages. He has a high QBR, things of that nature. Those types of numbers will get you in the Hall of Fame. And overall, just a very resilient, tough QB to bring down, and has taken probably some of the best, hits that a quarterback can possibly take in the sense that he just kept up and going and going and going. Terry Bradshaw, the Blonde Bomber, did it back to back. They were the first team post-Lombardi era to actually win Super Bowls and defending that Super Bowl back to back twice. So again, if the Chiefs can pull this off, they would be, since the New England Patriots, years removed, obviously, from them being able to go back to back. Now, can they go back to back to back? Well, that's another show for another time during next year's regular season or this year's regular season. However, the best thing you could possibly do is having a conversation surrounding when and if the Chiefs can find a way to beat the 49ers. Is it going to be on Sunday? That'll be the telltale and the tail of the tape as to who wins and why. Patrick Mahomes can certainly be that guy to get things going on the run if he needs to from the pocket or a little bit of pressure, and somehow he just seems to be the same QB regardless of where he's at on the field, whether he's going down, flicking it to Travis Kelce or Rice, or I mean, it's just he's very loaded with talent. Same on the other side of the ball. You have Ayuk, you have Kittle, you have Christian McCaffrey that can get it out of the backfield. He can run it in the end zone. He's not the kneecap biter that Pacheco is, but he's certainly a guy. I mean, they're dogs, man. They're friggin' dogs. That's all they are. They're just dogs with balls, right? Yeah. So if you're gonna get in the end zone, you're gonna fight and scrum and rough your way in. That's probably the most daunting and grueling position on the field, other than a pass rusher, is a running back, because your body goes to hits and smacks and slaps and everything else under the sun. You're gonna have the same question to guys like Le'Veon Bell, late Sweetness, and Walter Payton, which are giving out the Walter Payton Man of the Year award in the
hell. You can ask Saquon. I mean, you get tackled the most. Your job is to get tackled as a running back, and you get paid the least amount. Oh, it's just terrible.
Yeah, it's a bruising game for someone who doesn't expect to get paid very much, and there are teams that just will not overpay for any running back. That's just historically true, unfortunately. But what's really interesting is that even though these guys don't get paid as much as a starting quarterback, let's say, guys like, I'll give you a good example. Jerome Bettis decided to come back for one more year after sitting the first one out on the sidelines, not winning a Super Bowl with Ben Roethlisberger, and decided to do something more and train the up and comers, the Willie Parkers, the guys who are underneath him. And so ultimately you end up being that guy if you choose to take that role. If you lose, that's the choice that you make, and the choice that you take by being able to move forward with your career, even if you know that you're at the end of it.
Yes, for sure. And I mean, it's tough life is tough for running backs. And that's the thing about it is when you have guys like Pacheco and Corey Dillon, and guys that aren't, first round draft picks that are just coming out of nowhere. Kevin Falk. I mean, these guys are just making amazing plays, and they make it feel like running backs are a dime a dozen. I mean, you can find a running back wherever. You can find one off the street. You can find one off the practice squad, and he can be effective.
But not every running back is the same, though.
Yeah, you're right. And that's why
they're just not. Some are taller, some are shorter, some have thicker thighs, some don't. Barry Sanders is a guy who has
Jerome Bettis had the thickest thighs. Oh my God.
And that's what really helped him roll over Brian Urlacher when they actually played the Bears in that playoff run. But with that being said, there's just so many facets to a running back that I don't think people give them the just due that they deserve to have in that specific position, which is the most bruising, and as far as life expectancy, one of the shortest in the National Football League. Sticking with that, speaking of the National Football League, the Cowboys are doing something I never thought that they would do. And hopefully Jerry Jones brought some odor eaters with him because they were deciding to interview Rex Ryan. And as you know, Rex Ryan openly admitted to having a foot fetish, at least to some extent. And I think this is about getting back into the football fetish and put the foot fetish to the ball. Did you see my play on words?
I saw what you did. I saw what you did there.
All right, good. I was just waiting for that response. Rex Ryan.
I almost forgot about the foot fetish. He definitely has a foot fetish. He had that creepy video with his wife. Oh, yeah. God. Social media, man. Stay off social media, Rex.
It's pretty brutal. I don't. It's not for the faint of heart or for the faint of foot. With that being said, he's interviewing for the Dallas Cowboys. Oh my gosh, you're killing me over here. He's interviewing for the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator position vacated by Dan Quinn because he went over and ended up being a head coach for the Washington Commanders. Now, that was a backyard move. It really was, because he thought the grass was greener on the other side. And you know what? Maybe it is. He stays in the NFC. It's low-hanging fruit, so good for him. But Rex Ryan was great as a coordinator, not necessarily head coach, but a coordinator. And so the Dallas Cowboys recognize what they get. They know his resume. I mean, he had 3 seasons before coming to head coach. And then when he did, he went ahead and took on the New York Jets head coaching job, which is by far one of the most not sought after jobs in the National Football League to be a head coach, and one of the most brutally honest media outlets that they will crucify you if they see that you're blinking the wrong way or in fast capacity, or you end up pulling this eyeball popping out of your head move.
Adam Gase
on the front cover along with Adam Gase with your arm over his shoulder. With that being said, is he the right fit here? Because as a head coach, he's 61-66, including consecutive playoff appearances during his first 2 seasons with the Jets. But after that, that's where the plane flew off the tarmac at the speed of sound.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that we have this theme here on the Rude Dog Show that we always talk about. Some guys are head coach material. Some guys are just coordinator material. And Rex Ryan certainly fits that bill, Rudy. I mean, the thing about it is that he was the defensive coordinator for 3 years for my Baltimore Ravens. And years before that, he was the defensive line coach under Marvin Lewis, who was our defensive coordinator, who went on to eventually get the job in Cincinnati as the head coach. And then Rex Ryan just steps in for him and then does a beautiful job. I mean, calls the hell out of that defense. That defense was the reason why we were even competitive those 3 years. I remember we had Steve McNair for one of those years where he could barely throw a pass for 3 yards or more because he had shoulder injuries. And it was but Rex Ryan stayed tough. And when you watch it, when you go back and look at what he did when he was the head coach of the Jets, he built that defense. I mean, they had Cromartie on one side, they had Darrelle Revis on the other side. They had heavy hitters on all 3 levels. I mean, he built that defense up, and he had the offense. The offense was rather pedestrian with Mark Sanchez leading the way, and Braylon Edwards was their number one weapon besides Antonio Holmes. They had him for briefly, but yeah, they just could never get over that hump. But the fact of the matter is that he was 61-66, and most of those losses came when he was the head coach of the Buffalo Bills the very next 2 seasons. So I liked him as the Jets head coach. I thought he was a good motivator. I thought he could galvanize the troops. I thought that he had great relationships with all the players.
It was short-lived, though. It was
only 5. It was a 5-year run. I mean, and some would argue that it was 2 years too long. But he made Bill Belichick have to go back to the drawing board a few times. And he gave him a run for his money in a couple of those games. But the majority of the games, of course, Bill Belichick got the better of him. But there was a couple times where he made Bill Belichick's teams look rather pedestrian with his defensive scheme. So I think that this is a good move for him to be a coordinator, maybe not a head coaching job for Rex Ryan, but he's took a little time away. And as you know, anybody who does something that loves to do something and once it's taken away from you, I mean, you think you start plotting and planning in your mind. How am I going to do? What am I going to do better next time? What am I going to do different next time? Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's ready for this opportunity. And he was very critical of Dan Quinn in some of those games that they lost when he was on ESPN as an analyst talking about the schemes that DQ had. And he was also very celebratory of Dan Quinn when they had great defensive performances. But this is a job that he's been eyeing for a long time, and I think that he'll be ready for it. I think he'll go in and knock the interview out of the water, and I expect Rex Ryan to be the next defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going to have to agree with you there for a couple of reasons. Look, Rex Ryan is a very likable guy. He's likable in everything that he's done. You don't spend 20 years in coaching because you're a jerk. You have a record that speaks for itself in a win-loss, 164 to 156 and no ties. He was a head coach for 8 seasons. He overall not a sub 500 winning record for 6 seasons with the Jets. But what he did with that 2000 Ravens defense is just outstanding. And of course, that was I mean, you could call him an interim. That word's thrown around so much today. He was an interim DC. But what he did is basically saying, okay, we got this. Now we're gonna help the Dallas Cowboys get to the next level. Now, the only other team that's ahead of them defensively that has become that much better are the aforementioned Kansas City Chiefs. Cowboys are still the second best. And they're, again, next to the Chiefs in that regard, but top 10 in offense, defense, and special teams. So they rank pretty high when you're next to a Super Bowl champ that's trying to repeat. Now, the bigger question is this. If Jerry Jones pulls the trigger and hires Ryan to pick up where Quinn left off, would he give him everything that he needs, and would he force him to try to exceed the defensive expectations left from Dan Quinn, and will he pick up basically where he left off?
The thing about it is that I think he'll pick up right where Dan Quinn left off, and he's been very vocal about the fact that he loves Dan Quinn running so much man, and that's what traditionally Rex Ryan liked to do. Is he liked to blitz a lot and he liked to run man coverage, and he's got the dog to do it in Dallas as long as they get Trayvon Diggs back. They get Trayvon Diggs back healthy, fully 100%. Then you got Deron Bland, you got Stephon Gilmore in that backfield, and you can run man all day long, all you want. I mean, you put Bland in the slot, and you got two dogs on the outside that are shut down corners. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of man coverage that's going to be ran with this defense. I feel like there's going to be a lot of blitzing. The one saving grace for Rex Ryan will have to be him. He will have to tell Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, look, if you want me to be the defensive coordinator of this team, you've got to go out and get me some bigger guys up front. I mean, you've got to get me some bigger beef up front, because that's what killed Dallas.
Micah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you got to figure out what you're going to do with Micah, if you're going to use him as a hybrid linebacker, or because you can't have him consistently rushing the passer, and because he can't stop the run. So the thing about it is that, you know, you're gonna have to scheme him up and make him more effective in the running game. Because he's just getting eaten alive in that running game. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys were giving up 7-8 yard gashes in the first two quarters. I mean, 3-4 yard gains.
But defense is a team game. I mean, when you're talking about defense, he's not the only one. You have Lawrence right there. You have a whole line, so you can't just, you could try to plug that gap by yourself, but you're going to end up getting ran over. You're going to end up getting tired. So you're going to need some help to come over on the right or left-hand side, or maybe up the middle to try to stuff those gaps, preventing a running back from getting any type of yards on the play. They did that early and often in the season. But look, when the defense is out there on the field because the quarterback on the other side on the same team is throwing interceptions, that's going to get you a little worn out, a little tired a lot sooner than you would like. So, of course, he's not going to be that guy to be able to stop it every single time. And the expectations of that are just, I think it's foolhardy. Honestly,
I mean,
don't think it's going to work.
The thing about it is Dak Prescott's going to have to protect the football, like he did. He did a pretty good job of it this past season. I mean, a season ago he did a terrible job of it.
But he gave it away, though. I mean,
he did.
You threw an interception right in the middle. How do you're covered by? Your guys are covered in a double team near the end zone, and you throw that ball, just like we've seen Lamar Jackson do in the end zone as well. Throwing that pick when he didn't look out for that QB spy in the free safety position, it's gonna kill you every single time. So Dak didn't look for it. Lamar Jackson didn't look for it, and that's going to kill you. Secondary's been fantastic. Of course, I was at Cowboys training camp, and everybody wanted to talk to Bland, and of course, he's from Fresno State, which is obviously in my backyard. But everybody wanted to get a piece of Bland, which I thought was bland in of itself. But anyway, I think that the only way this could be pulled off, and you're right, I think that he's going to have to ask, if Rex Ryan gets hired for the DC position, he's going to have to get Jerry Jones to nod in on getting another pass rusher who's extremely good. Maybe they stay with the whole scheme of going for a Georgia Bulldog. There's a lot of great draftees off that line. There were more better ones last year in Jalen Carter. Of course, we know that the Philadelphia Eagles picked him up. But needless to say, you need to get more in there, more beef up front. You can disguise the blitz if you want. You can back off if you're a defensive tackle. There are things that you can do defensively. And let's just hope Jerry Jones and his son is able to add to that line to make them a much viable defense moving on. Speaking of moving on, NBA with not a whole lot of motion. There are some players in the NBA that decided to move, that were moved. Players were moved. Morris was acquired from the Pistons. Now kind of I'm not going to say just a body. When I say just a body, I mean a guy who may not be able to get it done. But Monte Morris has played absolutely pretty darn good considering. He didn't do a whole lot against the Clippers just a few days ago, but he got it done against the Magic. 9 points, 9 minutes, 2 points, 1 for 5 from the line, and 4 rebounds. So he's more than just a body. He's a guy that you can develop into. Prior to that Clippers game where he got blanked, it was 16 points against the Cavs in Cleveland, and at home against the Thunder for 14 points. In Clippers, he had 10 points. So I think that the Timberwolves needed more, and I think they got more.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing about it is that the depth was the main issue for the Timberwolves this season. And it was like, okay, they were number one for a little while, riding high. Then you had the resurgence of the Thunder. Now you have the resurgence of these Clippers. And they're looking at it like, man, we need another primary ball handler rather than Michael Conley and Anthony Edwards. We need somebody that can come off the bench that can really light it up and score, not just handle the ball and distribute. Right. And Monte Morris is a guy that can definitely light it up for you in a quick, short period of time. So the depth was the issue, and you don't want to go into the real meat and potatoes of the season with Jordan McLaughlin as your backup point guard. You want to make sure that you go out and get a guy like Monte Morris that can, like I said, can score and light it up in a quick, brief period of time. So I like the move. I think that they should be
well-rounded. It makes it a little more well-rounded.
And they should make another move. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns has been fantastic this season. Anthony Edwards has been fantastic this season. Mike Conley has always been consistent. Rudy Gobert has even stepped up defensively and looked better than he's looked in the past 2 seasons. So I think that this team is definitely good. But when you got the Clippers that are looking as good as they have been looking, won 26 of their last 31, and Kawhi Leonard is looking healthy, I mean, you're going to have to do something in the West. I mean, if you're the Lakers, if you're the Warriors, if you're the Suns, I mean, the Suns are maybe the only team that I say stays put, and they'll turn it on once we get to playoff time. But every other team in the West, the Clippers are looking like the team to beat, and you're going to have to go out and make a move if you want to be able to compete with that depth that they have.
And the interesting part is that the Clippers are number 1 in the Western Conference, so they have fought hard. They have done everything humanly possible to get to where they're at right now. This is not Clipper Nation. This is Lake Show. But with that being said, the Clippers are doing absolutely astronomical things right now. But, and I say this with some serious reserves, James Harden does not need to be part of your starters. He just doesn't. The guy disappears during playoffs. He gets less clutch. It's like a clutch that's slipping on an 85 Ford Pinto. He's going to end up slipping and tripping and dipping on his way down when his numbers start decreasing as the playoffs approach. So in exchange for that, the Pistons get Troy Brown. Now, Troy Brown is not just a guy either. He's played 3 games. He's had almost 6 minutes, 40% from the field. He's averaging 4.2 points per game. He's okay, but he's your 3-point shooter. He's the guy you're going to designate in the rotation. He's not a starter, but he is a guy you're going to put in your rotation at almost 37% from the field. He needs to find his shot. You need to give him that opportunity. So ball rotation is going to be key. Ball sharing is going to be key, and being able to get it to him in an open shooting situation. And it's always been said, you pass it to your open shooters, and that's exactly what Troy Brown is. He's a straight up, 3-point guy. He's not going to, hide and be smoke and mirrors in regards to the shot selection he's going to make. It's going to be from 3. It would be a surprise for me to see any type of hardcore defensive moves. However, he's had maybe 2.2 steals so far this season. So I don't expect a lot from him, but the Pistons, they need some serious help. And I think this is a good place to start with Troy Brown, is shooting shooting from the field a lot faster than waiting for next season or to tank this season. I hate using that term, but it's so accurate. And they end up getting Shake Milton. Now, he is just a guy. He only scored 4 points. He is. I hate to say that, but he is. I mean,
he's been a scorer in his past years, but this year has been terrible for him, man.
He's kind of
the thing is that, I mean, these guys they're gonna need more playing time. They didn't get enough playing time this previous stop. So they're going to get more playing time with going to a 6-43 Pistons team. You got to feel bad for Monty Williams, man. No wonder he got a 6-year deal. He made sure that he had some longevity on that deal because he knew it was going to be a couple of rough first years.
4 more years, man. Yeah. For him.
6-43. Good God.
But what's even more interesting is that they get a 2030 second round pick. So it's only, I don't know, 6 years away, T minus.
Good God, man.
I don't know who worked that trade out, but that's absolutely horrible. But the Celtics trade for Grizzlies Tillman, I like this move for a couple of reasons. He's not just a guy. He knows how to light it, but he only did that against the Kings. It's not as if he's had points against the Cavs, Warriors, Celtics, or Knicks. He did it against the Kings. 37 points, 37 minutes, 10 points, 5 from 8 from the field. He's going to be that kind of cog, and it's good. Again, working him in a rotation, getting familiar with the offensive, defensive sets that you run. The familiarity is going to pay off in a very, very big way. But right now, he's just stagnant. Sometimes these guys need a new place, right?
Yes.
You see in the NFL, sometimes these guys go to new places. They do bigger things, do better things, become a superstar, and all of a sudden, boom, now they're flourishing. No longer will they be on the cover of Sports Illustrated because there's no such entity anymore. But, maybe find himself with some endorsement deals. I mean, anything's possible with guys you send to other places where, you don't have a chance in halibut to do anything during the regular season, much less make the playoffs or play-in tournament in this instance. And I think when you get guys like him or let's just say Lamar Stevens, the other pick that they had given up, he had 7 points against the Grizzlies, 7 minutes and 5 points, but that's it. There's really not there isn't a lot of meat on the bone here, but what they did was they added 2 more picks in addition to that in 2027, which is only 3 years away, or T minus, and then in 2030. I like it. That was the 3 rate. They have one from the Mavs that they've given up for last season. They haven't used that yet, but in the upcoming seasons, that's what they're going to have. So was this anything to do about nothing or nothing to do about nothing getting these guys? Are these just guys or these guys that are actually getting set to a different place to do very different things, but ultimately become better?
I don't take this Tillman deal lightly at all. I think that Brad Stevens, he's not a guy that's going to hit the home run like Danny Ainge, but he's going to consistently hit singles and hit doubles, and he's going to have a better batting average than Danny Ainge, and that's for sure. And this is definitely a guy that provides depth on their bench in the center and forward position. Right. And right now he ranks as the second most impactful defensive player on a per possession basis in the league right now, tied with Jonathan Isaac. So this guy is going to provide that defense that people were concerned about going into the season. They got rid of Grant Williams. They got rid of Marcus Smart, and they went out and got Porzingis. And everybody was like, okay, well, those are the 2 guys that provide that defensive prowess on your team. And now you don't have them. You're just going to be an offensive scoring team. And we know Joe Mazzulla has the offensive-minded scheme that he wants to run. So, they were going to lack a little bit in defense. And they have just a small dip in defense. But, the addition of Drew Holiday is always going to help. But certainly adding some depth in defensively to their bigs is going to be huge. And I know he's only 6'7", but he plays a lot bigger than 6'7". So I think this is going to be huge for them moving forward. And I'm still picking the Celtics to come out of the East this season.
Yeah, they've been playing extremely well. They went on a serious hot streak. They haven't really cooled off a whole lot. Maybe cooled off in offensive transitions. Fast breaks have been kind of dipping a little bit, and that really stems from, look, you're tired. You've been out there for you had halftime, but they're playing so hard that you see almost this kind of a slowdown. It's like having a peak and valley, right? You're going to have your peaks, you're going to have your valleys. They need to find out how to create a happy medium between those to be able to step it up when they need to and slow it down when they need to on both sides of the court. And if they can do that, then they're probably going to end up long lasting throughout 100+ games and end up going to an Eastern Conference final. That's just on the long term. Don't forget, still have the All-Star. There's still trade day, which ends tomorrow. Ends tomorrow at midnight. So a lot of teams are going to be on the take. They're going to be curious as to what they're going to need. they should already know. It shouldn't be like, well, all of a sudden, and here we are at 11:55 and 45 seconds. Oh, we need to pull the trigger. No. That's not how you build a successful team. That's not how you help build a franchise. And that's not how you provide stability either. So these are already done in advance. These thoughts have already been out there. You put the feelers out there, find out who's available, who's not, and go from there. Get the guy you want. Sometimes it doesn't happen because sometimes you get the guy you need, not always the guy you want. And I don't know that the Jazz wanted to trade Fontecchio to the Pistons. But again, a guy who is I don't know. He's on the fence for me. He's on the fence of I'm that guy or I'm going to go and have a ham sandwich because he's hot and cold. He had 2 points against the Thunder, 11 points against the Bucks, 7 points against 76ers, but he turned it on against the Knicks last month. So he's again, it's make sure it's on rye if you're going to have that sandwich, but it's someone that you can build around. The Pistons need anything that they could possibly get. And if they have a shooter that's willing to do anything and everything he needs to do that he can do in order to be that guy, I think you can mold and help give Fontecchio what he needs from a coaching perspective to get him to that next level. So that remains to be seen. Kevin Cox, well, the Jazz receiving that. Yeah, I think he's just a guy. But again, it goes back to the old adage, could be a new place, a new face, and a new opportunity to redeem yourself as a player. And I'm not saying that he's fallen off by any stretch of the imagination. What I'm saying is that he had 12 points against the Cavs. That's it. He played 13 minutes against the Magic. Clippers, he had 18, 20 against the Cavaliers, and he only had 14 against the Thunder. He'd done some good things. He had 5 rebounds, 3 rebounds here, 1 steal here. So he's a guy that you can help mold and build into the guy that you really, really want. And they actually had given the Jazz an additional 2024 second round pick for the draft. So that's going to be very interesting. And to be honest with you, I think that's a pretty good deal. I think the Jazz lucked out and got the better end of that, but that remains to be seen. And then you have Gabriel Procida, who's a Euro guy coming out of Turkey, obviously. Hold the mayo. You look 8.7 points for him this season, 1.6 rebounds, almost a full assist, whatever that is, and then almost 2 steals, almost a full block, maybe a partial block. So he's a guy, again, another up and comer, understanding the game, recognizing the NBA flow, NBA style, what that means, getting acclimated to the system. It's going to take some time. Who got the better end of the deal in this situation?
I think the Jazz did. I think the Jazz did for sure. Fontecchio is a guy that just really hasn't had a lot of minutes and a lot of chance to prove himself. I mean, he hasn't scored more than 18 points this season. So he's a project. And Kevin Knox is a guy who's never really lived up to his potential after being drafted by the Knicks. But at the same time, I feel like with Procida and Knox and that pick for all that for Fontecchio, I'm definitely going with the Utah Jazz. They won the better end of this deal.
Yeah, they certainly did. Speaking of ending the deal, we are at the end of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. Barry, where can they find you at on social? How can they interact with you and get you to tweet more at them?
Just like this right here, Barry Long II. You see Barry at Barry Long II on X and at Barry Long II on IG and at Barry Long II on Facebook. Message me, like me, love me, share me, do it all.
Okay.
Like me, love me, share me.
You know what they say, sharing is caring. Speaking of sharing, share this show, like this show, subscribe to it on YouTube. I would appreciate every single subscription known to mankind. I am Rudy Reyes. I'm your host. This show will be on everything and every platform everywhere. So from TikTok to Instagram, it'll be on Facebook. It will be on X, especially YouTube. X. And YouTube. Go to that channel and subscribe, please. And thank you in advance. With that being said, thank you very much. We will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. And again, thanks for tuning in.